Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State. And we're excited because we're going to get an update on the big project that is just literally 5 blocks north to us here, the Bayfront Parkway Central Corridor project here. And from my left here, we've got Justin Baker. He's the project manager. Brian McMulty, the district executive for all of PennDOT in this neck of the woods, and Jill Harry, the district press officer. Folks, thank you so much for coming back and joining us here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
You got it here. All right, Justin, you're in the hot seat here. So there was like a little bit of news that just broke about what the schedule looks like. And so let's not bury the lead. You're looking, what, in September, October, maybe to do a permanent shutdown of the central part of the Bayfront for several months. Talk about that.
Yeah, that's correct. We've been stymied a little bit due to utility delays. We're working through that, but in an effort to get the project back on track and to avoid tremendous financial costs as well as prolonged difficulties for the public, the best decision was to move forward with closing the Bayfront. I mean, that provides the contractor an opportunity to really make hay. They're going to be working an accelerated schedule to try to get everything back on track, and the duration's looking like the day after Labor Day of 2025, and it'll last between 12 and 14 months. Wow. So it'll be fall of next year when we reopen.
Alrighty, so let's get the extent of the closure, and then we'll talk about why. So will people be able to get to the Bayfront Convention Center from the west side?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Access to the waterfront amenities will be maintained throughout the entire project. Sassafras Street extension will remain open from the west side, and to access all the properties on the east side, you would use Holland Street. And then connecting the two, the Front Street is available, and it's going to remain open throughout the duration as well.
Let's talk about what is Front Street, because I think I remember Front Street being kind of the cobblestone, but it's not really. Front Street is just north of the Bayfront, right? It's that first street. As if you were going on Sass and making that right, it kind of curves around to Juniors and all that, right?
Yeah, and it's a great road. It was reconstructed. The Port Authority had a project and reconstructed it as a precursor to this project, knowing that we always intended, and we have to have periods of time where State Street was going to be closed for a long duration. We have to raise the existing bridge that's there, remove all the structures, put all new foundations in and new bridges, and you can't do that while and maintaining traffic. It's just not feasible.
Yeah. So Brian, this was always part of the deal, but let's talk about what was discovered in the last few months that said, yeah, we're going to have to kind of pivot on this thing.
Yeah. So. When we were going through design, the intent was to leave the parkway open and have the contractor manage traffic throughout all of construction with just a couple of, short delays, like a weekend or something like that, where they would have to shut it down. That was something that, through all those years of design, probably last time I was on the show is probably what we talked about when we were back in those early days. But the goal was just to maintain, that service, that through traffic ability for the parkway. And we, in the course of those conversations, of course, we're having public meetings, we're having stakeholder meetings, businesses, the hospital, everybody you could imagine to kind of, coordinate that, make sure everybody was okay with the plan. The thing that changed for us, and Justin alluded to, a little bit of some delays that we faced, and he can speak more to the details, but the project bids were opened in late 2023, so we're almost coming up on the 2-year mark of the contract's duration. And they ran into some things out there that changed the way that we relocated utilities. So there's a lot of aerial, electric and other utilities on poles that the plan was always to put them underground.
Sure, yeah.
You run into some unknowns underground, and it changes drastically the cost and the time of putting those utilities underground. So that was one of the things that delayed us to the point where we said we got to relook at the plan for the parkway, the traffic control of the parkway, and how do we catch this project back up. And just talking with Justin, internally and some of the other folks, in the last, I'll say about 3 months ago or so, it started to become clear that we were getting to the point where we were almost 2 years behind schedule on the overall project.
Yeah, which was, again, when we last talked, I think it was a year for Sassafras, a year, maybe 2 years for state, and then a year for Holland, right?
Right.
We're kind of getting off of that a
Yeah.
bit. Wow.
The plan was to finish in 2027, and with those delays, it was looking more like 2029.
Wow. Okay.
So,
and this is to try to get back on track.
Right.
Before I let you go, the concept of delays, again, you have high-level conversations across the Commonwealth.
Right.
This is not that unusual, is it?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, I would say even locally, as we were developing this project, there's a lot of projects going on in the city of Erie not related to PennDOT, right? There's tons of huge construction projects. So on the private side, they run into delays. And when you're doing major infrastructure, civil engineering work in an urban environment in a city like Erie where there's these, I'll call them ancient, these old utilities underground, not mapped well. We do all of the work that you can during design and before the contractor is actually selected and awarded to identify locations of those underground things. But it's a fact of life that in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, urban settings, people don't know what's under the ground until you start really digging.
That Cali, I'll even say in some rural settings that when they were building the interchange from I-80 to, what was it, I-99 and Bellefonte there, they ran into like salt water. It was like some crazy environmental thing that they had to mitigate that wasn't expected or discovered. So, you read the history of highway building and it's interesting stuff.
It is. Yep.
Yeah. Again, I'm kind of a road geek. So, Justin, talk about, again, if we can get more specific even, are we saying that basically you're talking about infrastructure like electric or water piping or sewer piping that's been there since the beginning? I mean, we grew up around the waterfront, so that's our oldest area,
Yeah, so there's a few components to this. The first being the existing facilities are tied underneath the structure that carries traffic at State Street right now. Until those utilities can be fully relocated, we cannot progress at State Street without severing power to the entire central business district of Erie, which is obviously
the entire central business,
which can't happen. So step one,
because we'll blame Jill.
Not enough.
No, just joking.
So step one, obviously relocate those facilities and flip the switch and get power switched over to the new facilities. The problem we ran into is we tried to drill down. We're about a little over 30 feet below grade out there, and then we were trying to send 4-foot steel casings underneath the ground. We ran into vertical cribbing walls that were obstructions that the only way to manage them are to send people in there and chisel them out by hand. They don't make a drill bit that expands beyond the diameter of the casing. I don't have to bore you with the details. The net result of that was the only option was to go out and around or close the bayfront for several years just to get this part of it done.
Wow.
So, of course, whenever you change the plans and you go that far out of it, you have to refile for all your permits. You have to get everything in a row. You have to acquire all the materials, and then you have to work with the utility owners in order to make that a reality. So that's one. And the other difficulty we run into everywhere is Erie was one of the first cities that was energized. And as part of their plant, they used to provide free steam heat to the entire city. Well,
that is part of our lore.
Sure. The problem is every one of those steel lines was encased in asbestos. And we are hitting them everywhere. And we have a good idea of where they are for the most part, but we don't have it's not an exact
And you
science.
have protocols when you encounter asbestos.
We do, but the contractors who do,
Okay.
Step one are not that contractor, so we have to pause, bring them in, come back. And the inherent problem with this project is when we're stymied for one phase of it and we can only work in one little quadrant, it really slows it down, which is one of the huge benefits. Obviously, of the closure, we get a whole big area to work on, which if we encounter small problems here, we can jump, we can move, we can mitigate those and really make hay.
Was it really the Foot Estate that was kind of the biggest issue, or did you have any other things that were unexpected along that corridor? I'm thinking of on the west side now, because we're starting to move on the curb work, and it looks like soon that circle might be done. But even the circle was kind of delayed a little bit, right? I mean,
it was just because of State Street. So we ran into environmental concerns over there, but they were expected. We knew they were there. We dealt with them, and the delays that resulted from that were relatively minimal from an impact standpoint, because we were delayed at State Street. So ultimately, it was all hinged on we can't move forward until that's done. So. We did what we could to pick up the schedule with that, and this spring they're really getting things done, and they're going to have the roundabout at Sassafras completed before the closure opens. So essentially, one phase of this will be done. And like I said, just the ability to really go to town at State Street will open the door up to regain a lot of schedule and a lot of costs that are associated with that.
Before I go to break, let's remind folks what the design says. So through traffic will be going understate, and then folks that want access to state will be going on the ramps on either side, correct?
Ultimately, yeah. And that'll reduce the amount of traffic at State Street by over 75%, which we're reducing the widths of pedestrian crossings. I mean, the whole focus of this is really to increase not only pedestrian access to the waterfront, and safety was a huge component of this, but it also really simultaneously enhances and increases the efficiency for the motoring public as well.
How do you think that you're going to want folks that are, again, the primary thing that I see at the Sassafras roundabout is egress from the Bayfront Convention Center. If you've ever been to a graduation or any kind of single point in time event, we're just about, I think, what is it? Neil deGrasse Tyson is coming in the fall, and he's gonna speak. They're gonna have 35 to 4,000 people, and they're gonna all try to leave at once without the ability to continue east on Bayfront to State and then to the rest of it. Are you going to be suggesting people to exit to the west and then try to find alternate routes to kind of get up to 12th and then go east, or how do you think that's going to work?
Yeah, well, our proposed detour is using 12th Street. We had a precursory project, updated all the signals across 22 intersections to help with that efficiency, and that is the direction. Obviously, it's convenient that there's direct access to I-79, from the Bayfront. So, a lot of people coming into town, that probably would be the preferred route.
But as you're leaving, it'd be best to go to 12th or to Green Garden and make that turn if you need to go east on 12th.
That's correct, and we're seeking plans to utilize Green Garden as well. It's actually a city street, but that's going to hopefully be the preferred route. It just makes the most sense. So
I mean, again, you have to think about 1,000 things on your checklist here. When something like, I mean, on a typical project that doesn't have any glitches, it's 1,000 things. But I think we kind of added a few hundred, didn't we?
Yeah. It's different here. It's definitely higher in complexity level, and it's just like, to your example. On one hand, you're thinking of the day-to-day, maybe commuters, their normal to and from work on the Bayfront Parkway. There's an example of folks leaving the convention center. It'd be really easy for them to make a right out of there and head west, no problem. But that's a unique situation it'll slow.
And for 14 months, they won't be able to go east unless they take unless they're going to get a drink at Oliver's, on the way out. But have a designated driver for sure. It is 4:20 here. We're talking to PennDOT, and we'll have more about all the things. This major investment of well over $100 million into our downtown central core. It's pretty remarkable. Stay with us. We've got Justin, Brian, and Jill from the PennDOT, the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. Jill, I want to sneak you in here. I'm going to throw you a curveball. How's Real ID going? What do you know about Real ID? Is that going pretty well? We were talking about it like it was the eclipse the other, for right before June, right?
Yeah, I think demand still is remaining pretty high.
Is
and
it? Yeah.
Our employees at those DMVs are doing the best they can to keep up. My best advice for Real ID is to know ahead of time what information you need to take with you. So get on the website, look it up, so that way when you show up, you're prepared. If you go to a site, they're going to ask you when you arrive what services you want, because they don't want you waiting there for an hour or so to find out you didn't bring the right paperwork.
Right.
So now when you go to those all of those places, that's the first thing they do is ask you, what service do you want today and what paperwork did you bring? So they're trying to cut down on that unneeded waiting time and make sure people are showing up prepared.
My issue is, and I got a Real ID early on, because I'm early adopter, but I'm like, when's the last time I had a Penelec bill show up? I don't get any bills. Mm-hmm. I'm on electronic billing, so hopefully a printout will help or something, right? And that's something. Yeah, they're saying that July 4th air travel worked better because of the amount of compliance on Real ID across the country, about 93%. So that's pretty good. All right, we're talking about the Bayfront and the efforts there. So you ran into utility issues and things. Have you had any issues like the structure itself? I mean, is going that wasn't a problem of being able to support what you want to do? Or are you having to put additional piling? I don't know how this stuff works. I'm not an engineer, but
So oddly, I mean, the closure helps in construction. It's as simple as that if you're working in a closed area. So we were going to have to fill the existing train tunnel with a combination of flowable concrete as well as aggregates in order to cut the bridge in half and it not fall down to accommodate traffic as it was. And that's one of the huge savings we're going to have. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of money that we're essentially not going to have to do now because we don't have to accommodate live traffic over top half a bridge. So that was a great idea in order to make this all work initially, but as it turns out, ends up in a savings for the department.
You're not having to do any of that light concrete like they did on I-95, right?
Yeah. So for the pedestrian bridge itself, it's very unique. It's the second type. It's the second structure of its type that's going to be constructed in Pennsylvania, and we have urban engineers out of Erie as a consulting team, and they were one of the leads over there in Philadelphia, where the last one was.
Were they really?
So it's got just a plethora of unique features associated with it, including high strength concrete, the structure itself. I mean, it really is going to be beautiful when it's done. It's going to. I mean, you talk about the funds flowing into Erie and what that's going to bring. I mean, it really is a transformative project, and the bridge itself is just going to be, kind of like the keystone of the whole thing. Yeah.
You kind of put that at the end there, right? I mean, after you do all the heavy lifting on the turnabouts and the bridge.
Yeah, and I mean that's out of kind of necessity too.
Yeah.
We have to relocate a major sanitary line through there. All these things have to be done cursory to the main. We have to move everything in order to build anything, essentially, and that has its own problems with the bluff over there. And for years and years, they just kind of put whatever they wanted as fill over there, and so now that's ours to deal with. So these are just some of every little area has its own unique challenges.
That's really remarkable when you think about it. Again, I would imagine core samples were taken years ago, right?
They were, and as part of this job, they were taken all over the place throughout the entire corridor. I mean, but you can only find so much when you're drilling one core,
Wow.
And the only way to dig down and find everything is to do it. So, I mean.
Brian, one of the rubs with this project was, we want people to use 12th Street for cross-city traffic. Mm-hmm. But those habits are hard to break. Yeah. I wonder if this closure is going to finally break them, because it's really, when you think about the Bayfront Connector and the Bayfront Parkway, it's really meant for Bayfront access. If you're going to the convention center, if you're going to the dock, you're going to the library or Lampe or whatever, right?
Right.
I mean,
right. Yeah, we've been thinking that along the way that this would be, something that might change those habits because you're right. You get used to doing things a certain way. A lot of people,
and it is a prettier view. Let's just face it.
Yeah. Yep.
It gives people smiles on their face when they're driving.
Absolutely.
And the sailboats are there in front of you.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. That's one of the things that Mayor Schember said along the way through design was that he hopes people start to use 12th Street, and this closure is something that obviously it's going to force people to do it temporarily at least. Hopefully it sticks for.
Do you remember how much you spent on just that mitigation? You put all new lights, you coordinated lights, lots of poles and lighting.
It was around 10 million.
Was it 10 million?
Yeah. A lot of
That's
new signals.
Again, in and of itself, that would be a major
Right.
project.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And is somebody monitoring the coordination of the signals and things?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, I'll get a smooth way, like all the way from downtown to, let's say, Green Garden, or sometimes it'll seem like I'm getting every light. You know?
Well, are you speeding when you're getting?
No,
every red
I'm
light?
not.
I gotta ask. No.
Well, and I do a traffic report at 20 after 3 every day.
Yep.
And that's one of those areas is always 12th Street on the westbound stack at Green Garden, because that seems to be one of those trouble spots, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so signals are owned by municipalities. PennDOT doesn't own any.
Okay.
And the city is a great partner to us. They've got, a good traffic unit. They're on top of that stuff. And if ever they need support, we've got a couple of traffic engineers that help with those kinds of things. If there's an issue that, that maybe signal needs retimed or adjusted, we kind of all work together to do that.
Okay.
But it's always a balance. I think what the city faces and that what we hear often is, and you experience it as a driver, if you typically only go one way and you're not driving that intersecting street, you want your light green as much as possible.
Right.
And you got maybe half as many people coming on each intersecting street. So it's always a balance to try to meet
like I expect at Weschler, that's another route I take on southbound Weschler to make a right onto 12th. I'm expecting to have to wait a little while,
Yeah.
But, we're going to have more with PennDOT here coming up. It's the Joel and Natalie Show on a Monday. Thanks for tuning in. It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here live on YouTube and Facebook. We're talking PennDOT, and with us, Brian McMulty. He's the executive of this district. Jill Harry, the district press officer. Justin Baker, he's the project manager for the Bayfront Parkway project here. Big project, but Justin, I mean, my goodness. What is going to be the final speed limit, do you think? Is it 35?
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea, and you got so much public input.
It's different underneath than it is for the ramps that come up the State Street.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense, yeah. But like you got so much public input to make that project multimodal. I mean, the idea that we'll have parents with strollers going across in order to get either to the Dobbins Landing or to walk to Liberty Park even. I mean, there's a lot of thinking going on and how people will use this. And now everybody's got those e-bikes. There's space for them too, right? I mean,
yeah, and kudos to the design team in this. I mean, honestly, they really thought of everything. And like being on the construction side, like we talked briefly about 12th Street, I was in charge on the construction side of that project while this was ongoing, and I just kind of go from job to job. Having said that, when I started to learn about this project and everything else, I mean, everything was thought about. Not only the pedestrian access, vehicular access, but also there's a huge reduction in particulate pollution right next to the lake. So you add roundabouts in, you eliminate stop conditions. You add a three-way at State Street, you eliminate huge stop conditions where cars are sitting there idling every day. Now that doesn't happen. You just flow. And so, I mean, they really checked every box with this. It's remarkable.
Yeah. And so, like we just to repeat what we were saying earlier, it looks like just after Labor Day, we're going to close basically from the other side of the Sassafras Roundabout all the way to Holland.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. And access to the city at Holland will still be maintained. Access to the waterfront.
So the light at Holland coming north on Holland to get to the library, that's all working, right?
That's all working.
You just can't go on the Bayfront.
That's correct. And it'll be modified, but to better flow, but it'll exclusively serve, those three legs.
And then what can we expect? Okay, so again, if I'm going down there eating my lunch watching this construction, what's that going to look like?
So we have pretty large contractors by our standards up here in this district working on this, and they're going to be bringing in forces that are at least fivefold what you see out there right now. And we're planning on working every day this winter if we can. We have contingencies built into the schedule to the best of our abilities. Nobody has a crystal ball, but we've looked at historical data and the historical data from the project, tried to accommodate that to ensure that we're successful in this effort, and all signs are pointing go. So we know. I
mean, is it an actual bridge or is it more of a tunnel underneath?
So picture State Street itself. If you were to go from the city to the waterfront, that's one very wide bridge. And then you have two bridges that come up to that bridge and tie into it. Oh, okay. And then the through traffic underneath is actually at grade.
They're at
more
grade.
Or less of like what the waterfront is. And so it's not so much a tunnel per se as it is a road being constructed and then a bridge over top.
Okay. So big I-beams and I mean, we have that issue in Pennsylvania about aging bridges and things. So what is the modern technology? Is it reinforced concrete? Like I'm thinking about the Edinburgh Bridge over I-90. It's really fancy, but it doesn't seem to be that exposed metal anymore, is it?
We do still use steel like that.
You do?
Yeah. So for example, Route 20 over 6 Mile Creek, I think it is, over on the eastern side of the county is a long span steel bridge. So do you remember what the State Street Bridge is?
It's concrete I-beams.
Okay.
Concrete I-beams.
Yeah, they're pre-stressed concrete beams. They're made of ultra high strength concrete.
So they're just coming in on a truck?
Yep, they bring them in on a truck. They set them, and they're designed to, once you put the weight of the concrete and everything for the deck on top, they more or less camber down, and they're they're more than adequate. You know, concrete has its limitations, and that's when steel's utilized. But steel tends to be more expensive.
Do we expect that we'll have more through traffic than, because you're trying to kind of judge what in 2030 what the traffic scale would be. So are we expecting more traffic on Bayfront?
We are. It was designed that way. I'll put it that way. You know, I think one of the things that's important about this really is, you know, there's the idea of induced demand. Like, for example, back in the 90s, early 2000s, a lot of DOTs were building bigger, wider highways absolutely everywhere. That was the solution to congestion.
Just drive I-35 in the middle of Dallas.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I think but what's happening here, really, this project, there was already a road there, obviously. The parkway was well established. But what changed was the land use over the last 20, 30 years. You had industry finally kind of tapering out. The coal-fired power plant was there till maybe mid-2000, I don't know when exactly, but not too long ago. So now look at it and look at the plans and the vision for full build-out development, along with growth of businesses like Erie Insurance in the city, UPMC, Gannon, all investing and growing. The intent really was to try to have the road keep pace with that expected development. So we think all of those things, if there's a full build out of the waterfront area as those different entities intend, you're going to see a lot more traffic, and the road will be ready for that.
I mean, if the plan for Sassafras Street Pier comes to fruition, that's a whole bunch of other folks. The Scotts own next to the library. Again, they have more hotels, more amenities coming, right?
Right. So we had to try to, normally if we're just building a project anywhere, we'll use some kind of factor to try to predict future volumes of traffic. In this case, it was a little more involved because of all that stuff that we had to really, but yes, we expect growth.
So somebody just told me recently that we have snow here in Erie in the middle of winter. And again, I want to give kudos to your team here in your district, Brian, because they did some yeoman's effort the day after Thanksgiving and that couple weeks after.
Yeah.
I mean, including, providing mutual aid to the city and to the municipalities with PennDOT's gear there.
Yeah, it was awesome. I appreciate it. We got a governor's award. Our folks got recognized for that. And, I mean, Erie County PennDOT maintenance forces just showed up like nothing I've ever seen before. They were working round the clock. Tons of people canceled their personal plans, a holiday weekend, hunting season for some, whatever, Thanksgiving. They came and they just did an awesome job. They helped a lot of municipalities out. And we also got a lot of help from all over the state that, PennDOT sent from all corners of the state for that storm.
What was different? Because, we kind of pride ourselves, we get 12 inches and we're back to work.
Sure.
But something was different. I mean, you saw the difficulty we had out on Route 5.
Yeah.
I mean, with what was that? Trucks getting stuck and
it was,
couldn't be movable, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was an unprecedented storm. And one of the, a lot of times people just talk about snowstorms in manners of inches or feet. But what they don't talk about a lot of times is snow intensity. And so that, that record warm lake temperature and this cold blast of air just set up, and we were seeing like what normally makes people who operate snow plows a little nervous is up to an inch an hour. If you're getting an inch an hour, that's an intensity that's a little worrisome.
Sure.
This storm was producing 3 or more inches in an hour. So if you think about like I-90, the first problem that we hit was traffic coming out of New York, heading east into Pennsylvania. They come into I-90, they hit that. I mean, you live here, so you drove, probably you were out and about in that storm. If you were coming from elsewhere, it was fairly clear until you got within this little bubble right around the lake, and it just
I mean,
turned.
literally, if you could get to Edinburgh, which is usually the opposite.
Yeah.
But if you can get to Edinburgh, you were freaking clear.
Yeah.
And Meadville had nothing,
Yeah. So you had semis coming in on 90, going too fast into that weather, jackknife, cause a pile up, close down 90. Now trucks are backed up. Others are getting off at 5, trying to take 5 as snow is coming down at 3 inches an hour.
Yeah.
And if in that case, like I-90 was shut down for about 6 hours or more before they got that backlog out. Well, in 6 hours at 3 inches an hour, you've got 18 or almost 2 feet of additional snow sitting on cars, hoods, roofs, everywhere in between them. It was different. It was unique.
What ended up happening to get 5 open? Was it just a lot of wreckers and all that? Or?
It was a lot of wreckers. Wreckers turned out to be a key part of the whole thing. One of the cool things about that experience, because we were coming up into the county area command, National Guard. Obviously Governor Shapiro declared a state of emergency.
I mean, Mike Carroll came right in.
He was
Secretary
right. Yeah,
of
he drove
transportation.
He drove here that night. So it was amazing. But getting a state police officer and a wrecker to go to these locations with one of our trucks is really one of the keys that helped us free things up.
So state police and a wrecker with one of your plows, and that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anything to learn, even with the new project? Are there new technologies when you're building like an urban flyover? Well, it's not a flyover, but do you have special stuff that you can spray or? I'm kind of thinking like what you have on the Bayfront, between 12th, right? On that flyover, de-icing systems.
There's nothing like that incorporated in the Bayfront, but
we haven't used that. We were considering some like heated bridge decks way back in the day in design for the pedestrian bridges and things like that. Or maybe, the pedestrian bridges, potentially we're going to have a roof over them being closed. Those are all some kind of the things that were like discussed, debated, hashed out. But no, we're actually, some of those bridge decks that spray a brine mixture, a salt water mixture, we're kind of moving away from some of those.
It's kind of old technology.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Tough to maintain it.
Well, I mean, and again, we're not Minnesota where it's minus 15 all the time. We have this lake effect, but this temperature is the different thing where we're hovering at 27
right.
It's such a unique deal for you guys.
It is unique because freeze thaw cycles are our enemy, and as far as pavement life and stuff. And so if you live in the extreme north of the country or Alaska, you get a deep freeze and you're pretty much frozen until springtime. Whereas in this part of Pennsylvania, it might freeze and thaw multiple times in a spring or whatever.
Jill, let's bring you back in. Let's talk about some of the public some of the public education things that you guys might be doing. There was just a law that went into effect about cell phone use. Can you talk about that? Because it's a pretty big deal now.
Right. What they essentially did was take a law that already existed, gave it more teeth, and made it easier for police to talk to folks about that, and especially if they see somebody who's a blatant offender. So if you're driving, you cannot be holding your phone at all. It doesn't matter what you want to do with it. You got to put it down. So you can't be talking on it. You certainly shouldn't be trying to text or watch videos on it. You put it in a holder or hand it to somebody else, but you shouldn't be driving and holding your phone at the same time. And that's what the new law is about.
The distracted driver statistics for crashes is really concerning, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a tough one because what it sometimes relies on people to be honest about what was happening right before they were involved in a crash, and what is the distraction. Was it something they could control or not control? A phone is obviously a distraction you can control, and it's a major distraction. So whereas something might just catch your ear for a moment, a phone is going to take your eyes off the road, and it's going to take your full attention off the road, and you're not going to be listening to what's going on around you because you're going to be fully focused on that phone. So that's one of the reasons that it has become, the focal point of distracted driving, because it is so dangerous.
There's a lot of interagency cooperation. You think about Pennsylvania State Police, you think about like DCNR or DEP, and what occurs to me, my daughter totaled her car on an October trip on 79, hit a deer, and we were talking to the claims adjuster, and he's like, we used to get, during the down season, we would get maybe 1 or 2 a month. We're getting multiple a week. the sheer deer population is so over the top right now. What's PennDOT to do about that? I mean, are there new technologies to mitigate a deer flying across a highway where they're going 70 miles an hour?
Yeah, it's a challenge. We're definitely seeing more hits. Obviously the worst case scenario is where it causes an accident, a total, or an injury or something. But even just dead deer on our highways,
sure,
we gotta handle that, and the number of that has gone through the roof in the last 15 years or so for sure. New technologies, not really, but old technologies that probably need some life breathed back into them. I mean, interstates, when originally built, would have had brand new right-of-way fence on either side of them.
How tall are they usually, Brian?
Yeah, I think they're 6 or 7 feet.
But enough to keep somebody from jumping over, hopefully?
At least enough to, deter it a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's those types of things that probably need focus. And then there's some federally, there's some money available for wildlife crossings. You might see stuff like that more out west or whatever. But it is something that can be done. Probably a little tougher with Pennsylvania type game, white-tailed deer and things don't really move like, maybe some of the larger animals out west.
We're hoping that wild animals are not going to impact your project there, but
I wouldn't rule anything out at this point.
I wouldn't rule it out, right, Justin? Yeah. I mean, we do have, I think, didn't a bear leave the peninsula at one point or something?
I don't know.
I'll just add that.
Yeah.
Kind of on what Brian was saying there about what really matters when it comes down to deer-related crashes is driver behavior. I mean, when you're driving, especially on somewhere like the interstate, if you're going to go way over the speed limit, you've significantly decreased your ability to react. So that also goes with how closely you're following the person in front of you. So if you want to keep all of that in mind, especially at times of the year when deer are more likely to be on the move, or times of the day, like early in the mornings or at dusk, like just making sure you're going the right speed, making sure that you're increase that following distance. That's the best way to be defensive when it comes to those deer, because they really are unpredictable. So buy yourself time to react.
That makes a lot of sense of just and I had always heard that of like, come down five miles an hour in especially during rut or whatever, but I've hit 4 deer in my days here, and it never used to see anything, and now it seems like it's just over the top here. All right, so let's look at the timeline here, because I just got about a minute or two left. As far as the Bayfront, the Bayfront Central Corridor project on the Parkway here, we're looking for maybe the circle, which is a double circle at Sassafras Streets, to be completed when, do you think?
Early August.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's just weeks.
There's still more work that requires shuffling of traffic in order to do the middle on the west end. So it's not going to be complete, but essentially for all intents and purposes as far as public perception.
And it's a full circle. It's not a teardrop, right?
Correct.
I mean,
okay. It's a hybrid, so it's not truly a dual lane. It just means that parts of it are 2 lane and parts of it are 1.
Okay.
But yeah.
And so, so basically, if you're, generally, if you're going eastbound on the Bayfront Parkway, after this happens, you're going to close State Street, or the portion that goes to State. So you'll be able to either make a full turn or go into the Bayfront, into Sassafras, which would allow you to continue on going eastbound on Front Street. Is that accurate?
That's right.
Okay. Or go to the Bayfront, or go to,
The convention
center, the Marriott, go get some oysters, or something like that.
I would add too that the traffic volumes that the models predict for 12th Street are not going to be over the top.
Okay.
With an ADT currently of 31,000, we're expecting 35,000. So if you think about that in terms, it's not like it's a 25% increase in traffic.
Wow,
it just
yeah.
isn't,
Just
so
maybe,
don't be scared
10%.
of 12th Street. It's all right,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Might be a good time if you want to buy outdoor signs. Buy some billboards on 12th Street. And then the Bayfront Connector, the Bayfront Parkway will be closed at Holland. So you can go north into the library or the intermodal and south to Hammett that way.
Yeah, and UPMC will have access there, but exclusively UPMC and their deliveries. You won't be able to get anywhere to the back of their parking lot. It doesn't exit to any road. It's for exclusive use for UPMC only.
Okay. Well, there you go. When is State Street closing between Bayfront and Second? That's coming up this week, right?
Monday of next week.
Monday
June
of next
21st or
week,
July
so.
21st, excuse me.
And that's for the duration of your closure, or not really?
It will remain in that condition until the closure, in which time it'll be closed by default.
Okay, there we go. So again, if you're making your way to the hospital, making your way to your doctor's appointment on Peach, just check things out, right? I mean, again, people have to think about where they need to go. Even taking the bus, when I can't. Well, they were doing this project here on State with the streetscapes and the water main. The bus had to leave me off a block away. It just is what it is, right?
Adjustments.
Yeah, adjustments. Justin Baker, Brian McMulty, Jill Harry. Thank you guys so much for taking the time and coming up. And let's hope everybody stays safe, with your crews. I mean, this is big stuff. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You got it here. Stay with us.